Hello, everybody. How are you, Seth?
Whoa, whoa.
Yeah,
Just came out of that incredible event. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm the same, man.
I'm, I'm in
still
that
buzzed,
psychedelic sleep
buzzed
deprived.
from the
Yeah.
event. Yeah, buzzed from the event. We will not go into detail of where we were. Let's just say that a great experience of global unity, something out of this world. Um, And if you're here for the first time, welcome to the Great Transition. I see some folks are already connecting from a bunch of different places. Yes, tell us where you're watching from. Tell us where you're watching from. Hey guys, I see people on Facebook as well. Yes, so if you are here for the first time, welcome to the Great Transition. We are here to let you know that if you feel this little inkling inside, this little sense that something is going on with the planet, with the earth, with nature and humans and the whole of humanity and where it's all going, if you feel that if you feel something along these lines, and you're in the right place. We are here to look at where are we going as a global human society beyond all differences of politics, religion, culture, or anything else. We are looking at ourselves as a social species, developing, moving forward by the natural evolution, by laws of nature. Some of them we understand, some of them we don't. Um, but we are here to tell you one thing, and that is that we are going to some better, more advanced state of human connection. And whether we are aware of it or not, it's happening. That's what we're going to find out exactly how in this show. Um,
Speaking of
yeah.
something not so advanced, but kind of
Okay.
fun,
All right.
but um, to illustrate this, have you
Yeah.
ever been driving and you're staring at somebody in another car,
Yes.
and what happens?
What happens?
Yeah.
Well, if everything goes well, then nothing happens. You just,
No. Okay.
uh,
I'm talking about when you're staring at somebody and then they notice you're staring, or they feel you're
oh,
staring, they feel the eyes on you.
yeah, yeah.
That's
You
just
can
something
even
everybody's felt, right?
Yes,
You felt
yes.
that?
You can even when you stare at someone else, you can even kind of get that moment when they kind of caught you before they turn their head and actually look at you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
right,
Yeah.
right. So what I would like to open up is a
Chris
lot of things.
Chris says in our chat, he says, "Yeah, the best case is she likes you too."
So
Yeah.
if you haven't done this, it's a cool experiment. When you're sitting in the passenger seat in your car, just like heavy stare at somebody in another car,
Hmm.
and then they will look at you, like they'll feel that you're looking at them, unless they're like very distracted or something. So what I'd like to do is open up a bunch of things that are super obvious, and we already know them from our lives, and see how all of that is not even close to what we're talking about. We're talking about something is even much bigger, but that these phenomenon are really close to us.
Okay.
um
Okay.
Here's another one. I told you about my ant problem.
The
Are
ants
you not? You're not.
problem. The ants.
You're not
Yeah.
fascinated by this yet? Okay.
But
I told you about my ant problem. No,
okay.
not my aunt. Not my mother's sister, Chris.
Hmm.
My aunt, not my aunt. My ant problem. We have an ant problem in our house, where anytime you leave a cough drop,
Hmm.
apple core, anything that is sweet anywhere, somehow the ants find it. Like
Yeah.
if you spun me around and put me in the middle of town, I probably couldn't find my way home. But these guys who can't see a centimeter in front of themselves somehow find their way anywhere in the
Right.
house, and
Right.
then find their way all the way back. That's I don't think that's magnetism, but I want to move to, that's just freaky and annoying as hell. But let's move to magnetism for a minute.
That's antism.
That's
Yeah.
antism.
Yeah.
um Ants are fascinating. There's so much we
Oh
could learn from
yeah.
ants.
Oh yeah.
Wow, there's so much
There's
we
so
could learn
much we
from ants.
don't know
But,
also in terms of
but we're
how
not going to
these.
talk about it at
Yeah.
all.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So so anyway, the stare, right? The stare. There's forces coming out of your eyes, I guess, onto some other people and they can feel it. Okay,
Yeah.
that's one.
Okay.
Then there's the antism. That's another thing. Okay. Also, birds. There's magnetic. The Earth obviously has magnetic fields. I mean, magnetic field. You can be anywhere on Earth,
Mm-hmm.
and if you have a compass, it'll point to. I guess in the northern hemisphere, it points north. Where does it point in the southern hemisphere? South, I guess. But there's Earth is magnetized. There's even a thing about the poles shifting, and the poles have shifted, and you can see even in tree rings when the poles shifted and different things, and what happens if the poles shift again. But the point is that Earth is magnetized. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and animals um, somehow are tuned in to this. What basically the
Yeah,
theme I'm getting at here
they
are
all
these like
there's a lot
invisible
of
forces.
animals. A lot of animals have this antism that we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, antism may be another phenomenon, but some ability to feel invisible forces. So
Mm-hmm.
birds, fish, turtles are able to somehow, it's not really cognitive, it's probably from the heart or whatever that means. It might be from the mind because the heart also actually has like more, the heart forms before the brain in the belly in the mom's womb. Did you know that?
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Is it like
The heart
a
the heart
but is it a
originates from in the
certain
mind.
thing? Like it's
That's
are
all I
there
know about it. But
okay, whatever. Yeah.
so there's
I didn't
magnetic.
understand what you mean by the with the animals that
Oh,
for
I was saying that is it is the sensor in their brain or it's in their heart, that puts
oh,
them
okay.
onto the
Okay.
track.
Mhm.
Also, in Amazon warehouses, the robots move by magnets in the floor, but that's another. That's
It's a different kind of sense, yeah.
different kind of.
This
So these animals follow some kind of magnetic forces that are in the earth, and they're able to move around the earth and find places and know where to go. Obviously, it's not conscious. They're like, hey, it's getting to be cold. Let's head south.
yes.
It's just an instinctual thing. And when it's time to go, it's like, honey, what did you have the map? It's no, it's like they just know where to go at the time to go. Um,
Yeah.
and what's very interesting is that humans also have the ability, or did or do, it's much more quiet now, the ability to
Magnetoreception.
magnetoreception,
Yeah.
which allows.
Magnetoreception is a sense which allows an organism to detect a magnetic field to perceive direction, altitude, or location. Yeah.
Altitude. Cool. Chris, what would be really cool is when you show that, if you like did like a narration voice over the top too, like if you read. Okay, next time.
I can start doing that from
Yeah,
now
but
on.
like
Yeah.
put your voice through some cool processing thing. So when you do it, it's like magnetoreception.
Yeah. No problem.
So humans also can detect the Earth's magnetic field. Now, also not consciously, really. But do you know what a Faraday cage is? It's like something
yeah.
they use around electronics. It just like
Yeah.
blocks out. So they
Blocks out
put
all
some people.
signals, blocks
Right.
magnetism, radio signals. Yeah.
Exactly. So they wanted to see if this is real. So they put a couple people in Faraday cages and then put EKG, EEG, things on their brains,
Yeah, the electrodes to
and
scan their brain, like that give
and
them some
started.
information about brain waves. Yeah.
Yeah, and they started to replicate different frequencies. And when they replicated the Earth's magnetic frequency, the brain started doing things that led them to understand that humans have the ability to feel this. So,
Wait, this is a big thing. This is a big thing. I'm familiar with the research, but I think we need to
okay.
just give it a moment. This is not such an old and known thing. This is relatively new. I think from the last year, maybe a year and a half or something like that, they found this thing. Chris, see if you can find this find something about this. But this is a big thing because, like you said, birds, fish, some mammals even, we know they use the magnetic field of planet Earth to navigate. We don't know exactly how This is something that science is still, looking into. We don't know exactly how it works. We just know that it does. And now they're finding, again, it's only from the last year or two, something like that. That experiment you said is kind of groundbreaking, because they found that humans also possess some, I think we just saw that it's called magnetoreception. They possess some of this ability to sense, to detect the Earth's magnetic field. The thing
Why
is
is it
that
why is it groundbreaking to
it's
you? Like,
groundbreaking
so
because
that
they
you can like
have,
find your way home if you get lost?
well,
What's cool about it?
even before the application of it, the what's cool about it is that it shows that we are intimately connected to
There we
forces
go.
of planet Earth and Mother Nature that we
There we
are
go.
not even aware of. What they find is that your brain also has all kinds of these magnetic particles like floating around in your brain, and they respond in one way or another to this magnetic field of a planet. The thing is that because the magnetic field of of the Earth, it's a strong magnetic field, but on the surface of Earth, it's very weak. Like it's
Right.
something, it's like 100 times weaker than the thing you put on your refrigerator, they say. But the thing is that because it's so weak, we don't feel it. But when they put the people in the Faraday cage, some of the people, you see that their brain scans are responding to the manipulation of an artificial field, a magnetic field around them. Yeah, there you go. So they put them in a cage, they block all signals, and then they induce a magnetic field of their own artificially to see what happens to the human brain. And what they see, I think, is alpha waves. They see a dip in the alpha waves, and when there's a dip in the alpha waves, we can't really see this clear, Chris. Okay. um, so basically, when they see that the alpha waves are going down, that is an activity that happens in your brain when you smell something or when you see something, when there is some stimulation of your senses. So in other words,
Hmm.
your brain is stimulated when that's what they found in some humans. The brain is stimulated by a change of the magnetic field, and we don't know. This is what's cool
You
about
would
it.
you would
We
oh yeah,
know
go
it's
ahead.
there. We don't know what's the purpose of this. We don't know what the brain does with this data. It's there. The brain collects this data and analyzes it and responds, but we don't know. Now, even the scientists say that who look into this, they say this might contribute to people who have, like you said, who might have a good sense of navigation, of direction. Maybe it has something to do with that. If you think about our ancestors, that I think is
Imagine
very
if like
interesting.
if it was like
Yeah.
very strong in you, and you like tried to throw garbage in the ocean, and it was like, ugh!
Oh,
Like the earth wouldn't let you do anything that was like out of rhythm
mm.
with the earth.
Oh, that's taking it far now. It's very interesting, though. That's really interesting what you just say, because you see with animals that they don't take from nature more than they need. They have a sense, an instinct that tells them how much they need to take and how to be in, like you said, the rhythm of the planet. If you look at us, we pollute and deplete and basically rape and pillage the planet left and right, and it looks like it's only increasing with time, especially in the 21st century. But again, what I think is cool is this. I think this is groundbreaking because you now have data that shows that our brain is connected to the planet in ways that we don't understand. We don't understand the purpose of it. We don't understand what the brain does with the data. We just know that it's there. And it's possible that our ancestors, now I'm this is, scientific hypothesis that some of the scientists are talking about, but this is interesting. It's possible that our ancestors, who were different from us in many ways, but they, for
They were
some
monkeys.
reason, well, if you go far back enough, yeah, but if you go to earlier humans, they may have been using that magnetoreception sense
Well, how did
uh,
they how
in
did
some way,
they
in some more instinctive way. In
there's it's a whole thing, too much to get into now, but there's pyramids in well, obviously there's pyramids in Egypt, the Great Pyramids in Egypt, probably close to where Kiko is.
Hmm.
There's pyramids in Mexico.
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
there's pyramids in the
in a few other
southeast
places in the
and a
world.
few
Yeah.
other places, and some of them have almost the same footprint. The ones in Egypt are taller, but I think some of the ones in Mexico and some of the ones in Egypt have almost the same base. The base is almost the same. There's all these similarities. Um,
Hmm.
there, you could say aliens, you could say whatever you want, but it could be also that people were so in tune with with just nature that what else would you build? I mean, that is what, as
Hmm.
you're flowing with the forces of nature, you take a beaver who lives in New York and a beaver who lives in Arkansas,
Hmm.
they generally build the same kind of beaver dam, even though they never
Right.
talk to each other or shared notes. Like,
Yeah.
that's what a beaver does. So if you're a advanced monkey wearing clothing and you wanted to build something and you're starting,
Hmm.
your frontal lobe is starting to develop, the beaver dam you would build, that's the beaver
it
dam you would
it
build.
might be that. Yeah, that makes sense. That's interesting. There's so much. I mean, there's so, if you go, into that rabbit hole of the pyramids, there's so much, so many ideas and speculations, messages from ancient civilizations, aliens, whatnot. But if you just think about, hey, we're humans, we're all humans built those things, and let's think just what's common to humans, and at a relatively similar point in time these things were created. That kind of makes more sense, I think. Yeah. Anyway, it's interesting stuff. But again, I think that, even, forget about the the pyramid tangent. I think
Yeah.
what's really cool here, what's really interesting, is we think that we have this developed brain, and critical faculties of the modern man in the 21st century, and yet we are so out of whack when it comes to being in the synchrony of nature, in the flow, in the rhythm of the ebb and flow of nature, and how she works, and how she conducts things. And we
Mm.
seem to sort of be, out of tune with that, out of balance. And when we think of earlier humans, primitive humans, we call them primitive, we think of, they didn't have the iPhones that we have, or something like that. But and probably they weren't. It's not just that they were significantly less developed than us in terms of their brain structure and things like that. But still, they might have had some instinctive connection to each other,
Okay, so check this out.
and to nature. Yeah.
You ever probably not recently, but you ever like hated someone or got into like such a fight with someone that like the air in the room is like thick? Like, you ever had that
Sure.
experience where,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
where like you could feel like you're kind of suffocating in a room with someone? Or
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
Really weird,
That's
right?
a good point.
Or
That's a good point.
or
Yeah.
or and I don't think it's just physiological. I think there's I mean, well, of course it's physiological. Something is, the electricity is then affecting your chemicals, which are making you feel that. Um, and also the you can feel that it's like cool. You can feel the air is cool. You can feel everything is light. And there's also something that when you're so the heart also has in another kind of experiment, there's another machine called like squid. It like SQUID, it stands for something.
All
I
right.
don't remember what it stands for,
Mm-hmm.
but they detected that the electromagnetic field of the heart can be measured up to three
Oh yeah,
meters out of the body, or
that it extends. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right. So okay, so fine. So far we talked about antism, we talked about staring at somebody in the car, we talked about birds and fish and pyramids and all of these
Well, when
uh,
you when you talk about social interactions between humans, that I think that brings up a really interesting realm here, because they when they did like the about 10 years ago or something like that, the research on collective intelligence, they found that one of the major factors, there's like three big factors in groups that contribute to a measure called collective intelligence, which is the intelligence of a group, which is not associated with how smart the individuals of that group are, or their average IQ. It has nothing to do with that. It's like the group as a single unit, a group of people have something they call a C factor. Anyway, it's a research from MIT's Collective Center for Collective Intelligence. Anyway, the, my point is this: they found that one of the big contributors to that collective intelligence is the nonverbal cues that we give off to each other, and the ability that we have to decipher each other's uh, nonverbal social cues. That's really interesting. It just, again, it goes to show how, we communicate and we use words and we talk to each other and we form arguments, and we have this whole huge profession of lawyers, you know what I mean? And like and politicians who are, all, most of what they do is speaking diplomatically and arguing and so on. And at the end of the day, there is a lot more weight in the interactions that happen between us without words. That's
There's
just
an
a
amazing
it's
there's an
interesting
amazing
thing.
example
Yeah.
of this. If you look at the people that are at the top of their game in team sports,
Yeah.
there was a guy when I was a kid. I was really into ice hockey. There was a guy called Wayne Gretzky. I don't know if you ever heard of him,
Yes,
being
I
from the
know.
Middle East,
Yes,
but
yes.
and I'm sure
I
there's guys
only
in.
know it because I have a friend who is into ice hockey and snowboarding, things like that, and he mentioned Wayne Gretzky a lot as a kid, so I remember. And he actually lived in. Anyway, doesn't matter. Yeah, Wayne
Okay,
Gretzky. What about him?
so um, I remember as a kid, like watching him play, and he would like pass the puck or like shoot it like he would do it like behind his back. It's like he knew, like the birds almost.
Mm,
And I'm sure my kids are really into soccer. Europeans call football, like
mm,
Ronaldo or Messi or these guys. Like they just, it's
sure,
like the birds moving and
sure.
flying. It's something
But
that's not
but
even
wait,
words.
wait. There's another interesting point about this, because now you're talking about adaptation. You're talking about learning. You're talking about the
Some of it is learned,
human.
some of it is freaky
Of course,
natural.
some people have talents, for certain things, but Wayne Gretzky wouldn't be Wayne Gretzky without all of the training to
Yeah.
develop that Wayne Gretzky potential that he
But I could
had
have
from
trained as
birth.
much as him and not become like that.
Because you may have not have that potential, but he still needed the
Okay.
training. What's interesting here to me is that this is something that goes to show how adaptable and malleable and trainable we are, that we are capable of developing our senses, expanding, extending, or increasing our ranges of sensitivity to some things. That's something that, it really depends on what we do, and what environment we're in, and what kind of practices we are part of, we're engaging in. That determines the kinds of sensitivities that you will develop. You know what I mean? That's, it's obvious, but it is so profound. Humans have this capability to develop their sensitivities to certain things in a very particular way. Anyway, go
So
ahead. Yeah.
so okay, so I was listing all of these things that are there, and we experience them all the time, but we're not really tuned into them too much. I want to look at something else, which is another phenomenon in nature, just one other one. There's so many, but I just want to look at one other one, and then I want to start to piece it all together after that. So there are currents. So if when you go to the ocean, for example, right, and you're sitting there at sunset, and the waves are coming in, psh, psh, right? That's a certain kind of movement that you can see, you can
Yes.
understand. If it's really windy out, it affects the current, it affects the waves more. If it's less windy, it'll be more calm, right? But
Yeah.
there's also these other things that are going on in the ocean. So down at the poles where it's very cold,
Mm-hmm.
okay, the cold water is
You
sinks,
the cold water in what, the
is
South
heavier, it's
Pole
more
and
dense.
North Pole?
Yeah, in the
Okay.
poles the water is more dense,
Okay.
it's heavier, it sinks to the bottom, okay?
Okay.
And closer to the equator, the water warms up,
Right.
so it rises.
Mm-hmm.
So what it happens is it starts to cause these like a conveyor belt, it's called, actually, and it moves like one drop of water. I guess at the rate it is now, it would take like hundreds and hundreds of years to actually make the whole conveyor around the whole
Mm.
world. But between, imagine, um, like South America, Brazil kind of fits into Africa right over there,
Oh, sure.
like,
Yeah, like
right.
before
So
the continents were divided into continents, you mean?
right. So in that
Okay.
area, right, between South America and Africa, there's a current that goes like that. And then
Mm-hmm.
up between North America and Europe, there's another continent. So they're kind of doing their spinning thing, right?
Right.
And one is spinning into the other, but then also all the way up from the North Pole, it's coming down, spinning through that one, and then spinning through that one, and then coming down, and then going underneath Africa all the way
Mm.
past Australia. And there's this whole conveyor of water based on um, the cold, the heat, and the cold, and it's moving nutrients up from the bottom,
Mm.
and which then, as the nutrients come up from the bottom, little creatures eat it, and that's where all of the good, the juicy stuff comes from, up from the bottom, right? Because all the
Plus,
dead
plus,
stuff
I
falls
think
to
I
the
think half of our, I'm probably not accurate here, but I think half of our oxygen, something like that, comes from those little, you know, minuscule creatures in the oceans that are
right. So everything
basically, yeah,
basically,
producing
isn't
it
it so interesting that like all of the energy that powers everything that we do comes from like dead crap that like turned into
from like
oil,
dead
right?
dinosaurs and things like
Dead
oil, like
everything,
how oil
right?
comes from. Yeah, that's insane. That's insane.
All the energy
So,
that powers everything comes from
right.
dead stuff. And so the same thing in the ocean, all the dead stuff is on the bottom. Like everything
Yeah.
dead falls to the bottom. And from the dead stuff comes life. That's where the nutrients come up and move. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where the bigger fish start eating, and the bigger fish. And then it comes up to the top. And then we get our salmon fillet and everything else and all the other stuff that the birds eat. And then the next one eats.
Mm-hmm.
And it all goes like that. So anyway, I digress. The point is that here's another, it's not
Well,
meg,
our show is about digressing
our
in
show is
in many
the
ways. So
great digression. We should call it
the
the
great
great tangent.
digression. Oh man.
um, so the point is that there are these systems, in addition to antism, in addition to magnetism, there's also these other systems happening in the ocean, right? So there's wind on the top, but then there's also this kind of conveyor thing that's happening because of temperatures and stuff that's moving water around.
Mm.
Now here's the thing. If you lived in a house with somebody and you constantly made them sick, you constantly like fed them food, like every time you walked past them,
Mm-hmm.
they're like lying on the floor like puking, or and they're so sick they can't even really clean it up, or
Mm-hmm.
like every time you walked past them when they weren't on the floor puking, they're just looking at you like nervous because you're going to say something mean and rude to them, or you might hurt them, or just like throw garbage on them or something like that, right? You
Mm-hmm.
would get then the air would change, right?
Yeah.
Because we've
So
already
you.
talked about that. When there's bad vibes, the air
Mm-hmm.
changes, right?
Yeah.
So you would be like in a really toxic environment,
And yeah, and that toxicity would be felt. It
and it
would
would
be
be
felt.
felt.
Okay, so
So
again,
something's
you
going
put
on
me, in a room, you put me
in a house.
in a house with someone that I'm constantly abusing. Is that's what
Yeah.
that's the scenario?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
just an example.
would I feel the toxicity in the air that
It
I've
depends on
created?
how
Yes.
psychopathic you are. You may or you may
Right.
not. You may
Okay.
There's some people
okay, if
who
so,
continue to abuse and don't feel, but
what
in
is
a
psychopathic, by the way? That's an interesting. Sorry, quick one.
I digress.
No, because just to refer back to the training thing.
We should do a map like of the show of how many branches.
The in some ways, when you hear those criminologists, that's how you call them, yeah, talk about what are the roots of psychopathic people and all that. They talk about some processes of training where they gradually, almost like a drug addict, you have to up the dose each time, and the threshold of sensitivity it goes down. So it's a matter of training in a way. So again, this is why did I want to say that? Because whether I feel that the whole thing is how the whole question in this scenario that you bring up is how and to what are we sensitive? How sensitive we are, and sensitive to what? That is what determines whether you and I will feel in that situation. When I'm abusing you in the same house daily, I may or may not feel this as a bad thing, depending on my threshold of sensitivity to your suffering. And
Okay.
yeah, anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
So we're looking at Earth, we're looking at life, and we're basically the abuser in a sense. We're
of,
like
of the
living
planet,
with
with
someone.
regards to the planet.
We don't feel the.
Okay, Chris just threw at
Chris,
us.
you need to come in with the dramatic voice when you do that. An Atlantic current system that controls sea levels and heat waves is on the brink of collapse.
Okay, now we see the YouTube
now we
chat.
see your chat.
Now we see the article
okay,
again.
so this is the story that prompted me to talk about this. So what's happening is, because the ice is melting,
yeah,
it's more warm water is entering down at the pole. It's not so cold anymore, and this current is slowing down.
Okay.
If the current now listen, if we're talking about billion-year cycles, nobody cares. The Earth used to be a ball of fire, and the Earth used to be a big snowball, and it was fire again, and the Earth was a snowball again, and it doesn't matter, guys.
And if you go, I don't know how many millions of years forward, the sun will will shut down, and whatever.
The sun's going to burn out in a few billion years, and if you go back a few billion years, the Earth was a ball of gas. So if you're an eternal being, like, you can skip this part of the show. But the point is that we're in the meantime, and that's the great transition, by the way, is moving to an eternal state. So it doesn't matter if the Earth is a ball of fire or a ball of
okay, you just threw a huge great transition into the room, but
okay, the point is this.
Yeah.
We are feeling all of these things. We are feeling these things, and all of these things are in our hands to manage. And we're not talking about just like, recycling plastic. We're talking about all of these systems
you're talking about our sensation of or sensitivity to the
I didn't want to make the great leap yet. I just first wanted to say that, that all of these systems, well, for example, this
systems,
giant
the ecosystems,
this giant conveyor belt, for example, is changing because of human behavior, and it will change the sea level, and it'll change, and who cares? I mean, listen, if it's warm and tropical in New Jersey, like, I'm not complaining, right? Maybe sea level changing. I saw that Venice is the canals are dry.
I have this one. 1 second. I'll get this for you. Okay. Look at this. Look at this. I had it ready. I found this.
Whoa.
Look at these pictures. Wait a second. Look at this, though. You've never seen this ever. No one's ever seen
No, I never saw this. Wow.
Okay, there you go.
This is now? This is like happening now?
This is a couple days ago.
But if you're into skateboarding, like, it's not bad. So I don't want to judge. I don't want to judge that the sea is rising and say it's bad, or that Venice is drying out and saying it's bad. I mean, if New Jersey became tropical and I had oceanfront property instead of, being an hour and a half from the sea, so is that bad? I'm not sure. The point is that we are affecting all of these things. And from here, this is kind of where we take, I'm trying to be funny. It's not really working, but from here is where we want to make like a really, really big leap. That's what this was like, all a setup in order to try and now make a really big leap.
Okay.
Okay. So it's one thing to say, okay, wow, when we act a certain way towards each other, our hearts and our minds come into synchronicity, and then you feel great and I feel great, and we can measure that, and all of a sudden we're not angry at each other, and all of a sudden we have more creative ideas. Like, it's true, when you have good relations,
Hmm.
creativity flows more
Oh
easily,
yeah, and
right?
it's well documented as well.
So
When
so
you
talk about that
have,
for a minute.
well, it's just like, yeah, I've delved into all of this science, which is relatively new. 20, 30 years, you can say, is like when they really started to study in an empirical way the effects of positive human relationships on our health, our mood, our mental health, physical health, our creativity, our productivity. To be very simple about it, everything goes up. When you're connected to other people, you are your best self. It's as simple as that.
Okay, so
Everything gets better when we are connected to other people,
your health, talk about
and
health. Talk about your
health.
physical, what happens to your
Yeah,
physical
so
health,
you know the
anti-aging, all
yeah,
this kind of stuff.
loneliness is equal to smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day is one correlation they found. For example, your
Wow.
wounds heal better when you are more connected to your social group. When you feel banned from by other people, shunned, shamed, you literally feel pain. The brain, the mechanism of pain that works when you break your arm is the same mechanism that comes into play when you feel rejected by other people. Hormones like cortisol and other things are flooding your system in a very bad way that can cause long-term memory losses. It's a whole there's a whole vicious cycle that happens when you feel lonely or disconnected or rejected by other people, and there is a good positive feedback loop that's happening when you even see better. You know that, like, your visual perception of reality expands when you feel positively connected to other people. It's insane. There's a lot of research about it that is fairly new. Again, 20 years, the last 20 years, something like that, and it's really really interesting. Yeah.
So
Anyway, so yeah.
it expands
and
from there.
and
So you're
yet and yet no one asks you, like, just your doctor asks you, he'll ask you, did you take your blood test, are you smoking, are you doing enough
okay.
sports,
He should be
what
saying
are you
you
eating.
need to have you need to be kissing for like 40
He
minutes a
should be
night.
saying you should hug
You need
someone for
touch.
at least
Yeah.
20 seconds. Yeah, the science of touch is also
20
another.
seconds.
I think 6 seconds
20
is the.
minutes.
No, there's like, I think from 6 to or from 20 seconds, can't remember, but there's like a minimum amount of
There should be a
seconds
time, like tea
that
time in England. They should
th-
stop the day and everyone should just go kiss and hug.
yeah, and even
Everything.
even even without physical touch, compliments, when you are in an environment that compliments you, that shows you warmth, that shows you care, that shows you empathy, you become less rigid in your opinions about things. So you become more open and more flexible. You become, we've had at some point, maybe we should bring again Dr. Guy Tzchakov, who researches listening
Mm,
in a very
hate that.
empirical way. Yeah, but but no, but he
I
has
love
like
when people listen to
serious.
me. No,
He
I'm just
does
kidding.
like conduct serious experiments, like it published in Harvard Business Review and other publications. Serious stuff, and he shows again and again that how much listening to others and feeling that you are listened to changes you changes you in positive ways. And it's very interesting. It's like if you
There's
if you
a
think
study.
about people who are, sorry, one more, just a sentence
Yeah,
about that. If you think about people who are violent, people who are belligerent, people who are hostile, we already see it, but it's an outcome. We're seeing the result of pressure, environmental circumstances and pressure and situational influences that have shaped a certain human being to be how they are. Again, it goes back to how malleable we are and how much we need to train ourselves and how much we are sentient, sensitive beings that we are what we become what we do and what we feel and how we interact with our environment. Anyway,
there's
yeah.
awesome research now about facts. You would think that if I
Mm,
came to you with facts about the environment or facts about no, but you didn't take out the trash for 3 days in a row. Like
mm.
facts. Facts don't really win arguments.
Oh
It's a whole
man,
thing. It's emotions. It's
yeah,
about emotions. If you want to commute to connect with somebody and resolve something, just you think like you're driving to meet them and you're thinking, oh, they didn't take out the trash 5 times and they
yeah.
did this last time and I'm going to tell them and my facts are, and you lay out the facts
Hmm.
and it doesn't matter because it's not
Yeah,
about that. That's not what's driving the whole thing here, is not
yeah.
facts. It's emotions. But here
Yes.
goes to what you were saying before about all of the health benefits surrounding good connections. So the same thing happens even with animals. Have you ever seen that guy who like lions like come up and like play with him?
Oh
He like
yeah.
has this relationship with lions,
There
and of course
is.
Jane,
Yeah, there's someone, and bears too. Anyway, yeah. Hmm.
bears and monkeys. So there's like when you have this kind of confidence, dogs, you ever seen like a dog just start barking at a person who walks by versus like there's some people, like everyone, like dogs love that person. Like there's people, it,
That's funny. That brings up
there are those
like
people that dogs bark
some
at all the time,
yes,
right? You're
yeah,
like,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what's with that person, every dog just like yeah. So there's like
Mm.
there's this energy that's happening that people are
Hmm.
exuding, whether, and it goes back to the first thing, like when you stare at somebody and they feel it. So
Yeah.
now it's not only people, it's not only animals, plants as well. We talked about 1,000 times. If you sing to plant, everybody knows this. You start talking to plants, or if you're in a good mood or something like that, the plants thrive. So
Nature is sentient. All of nature is a living, breathing thing. And to think that we try to mechanize it. We try to look at it in a very mechanical way because that's that's kind of our education. That's our training. Again, that's our training. This is kind of the point that I was saying that I think is really groundbreaking with this magnetic field, magnetoreception research, because um, it's possible that people of the past, human beings of the past, they weren't as intellectually developed as we are, but they were potentially more emotionally developed in a way, more instinctively connected to everything that's happening around them than we are. And that's an interesting thing.
I
And
want to make an I want to
but in
make
an
a
instinctive way. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to make a distinction, uh, that nature is mechanical,
Okay.
totally mechanical. Like
Okay.
if you have enough data points, you'll know exactly where that drop of water will be in 100 years from now, or you'll know exactly where that star is going to be, or you can tell exactly what's going to happen with a certain seed. Like everything is
Mm-hmm.
very mechanical.
All right.
However, the engine is totally emotional. Like it's like two systems
Mm.
that are like the outcome. Okay, so let's just stop for a second and go back to you abusing somebody in your house. Remember that story from a few minutes
Yes.
ago?
It was you.
Okay,
What do you mean someone? It was me abusing you
in the house.
in the same house. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so you because you're a smart, sensitive guy, you'd be like, I gotta check my behavior because every time I go by Seth, the energy is just horrible.
Mhm.
And and like he's just all the food I feed him is making him sick. And he keeps looking at me with that side eye, like he's like, I'm gonna hit him or something like that. And that's our relationship with nature in a sense.
Mm.
That's when we see what's happening with this conveyor of water, when we see what's happening in Venice, when we see, and the strangest thing is it's like the abuser doesn't, like you talked about the psychopath, he doesn't, is desensitized
Yes,
to it. Like
exactly.
how many
Yeah.
people in our normal lives are talking about what's going on and talking about doing something about it.
Yeah.
And maybe
No, and our culture normalizes what what we're doing to each other and to nature. That's basically what's happening. We live in a culture that normalizes what is, you know, what again. It all depends on perspective, of course. You can look at things are bad or good or bad, but
okay,
there's
look
no
at this.
yeah.
Look at this. This is a brand new story. The existential threat to our survival, the 19 Australian ecosystems already collapsing.
Mm.
Like it's all happening now.
So what
We're
is
not,
this? What is this saying exactly?
we could read it later. The point is just
No, like
ecosystems
the big
collapse.
strokes. The ecosystems are collapsing. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
See.
ecosystems are collapsing. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
food systems are being poisoned. Viruses are transmitting between species and jumping from species to species.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, so Australia has the Great Barrier Reefs, the forests, the tundra, all these different systems, natural systems, which,
Mm-hmm.
because everything is connected on Earth, if something goes down in one place, it affects all of the other places.
Right.
So
Yeah,
so
that's the big thing that we are not sensing because we are not trained to, I would say.
yeah, but
Eh,
how trained do you, yeah, how trained do you have to be to a fifth of the countries at risk of ecosystem collapse? Okay, how trained do we have to be
Here's the thing.
to
Here's the thing. We can see, this is to make it very simple. The
yeah,
plant, we are destroying the life supporting systems of our own home. That's basically what's happening. That's how our economy works. That's how our lifestyle contributes to that. That's basically, what is happening. Now, why don't we care? Because I would say that we are only focused on the result to our self interest at this point in time. Meaning, like you said, yeah, you know what? The Venice, the canals are drying up. I don't know if it matters to me that much. There's a whatever the ozone layer that's already kind of fixed. The whatever it is,
well, you remember
the,
millions of acres in California burned, if
yeah, right. Okay. So, pollution, depletion of resources, the okay, I still got food. Great. Everything's okay. Why what the problem is that we are detached, we are desensitized from our own from nature as our own home that we are all in. We only measure what do I have in my room right now. And so if we go by that, it's going to become very paradoxical. What's going to happen if we keep this direction, if this trend continues, what's going to happen is a very interesting paradox that is already happening in front of our eyes. We're going to see very clearly that we're ruining the planet, we're ruining our own habitat, we're killing our own life supporting systems, and yet we don't have enough motivation to do anything about it. We don't care enough, and that's what, what do you have today? You have some people who care about it, and they care about it for they have a certain kind of it becomes like their thing, their thing in life or their project. But as human beings, like Greta Thunberg, or whatever, or any kind of green activists, which I'm not against, but I'm saying what we all lack as human beings is the sensitivity. And if we had sensitivity to each other, to nature, we would feel how we are abusing our environment, and we would feel that as a toxic thing, not the result that only happens later on after we already polluted our own air or destroyed or brought about a water crisis or whatever. So we need to increase sensitivity. That's what we need to focus on.
I want to talk about the magic for a second. Okay.
The magic. What magic?
Here's the magic of the whole thing. All right. The scientists measured the magnetic field of the heart, for example, right? The brain also has some magnetic field. Cool, right? You can stare at somebody in a car and they can feel it. Cool. Okay. That's stuff that they know to measure, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how is it that you knew that I was going to call you before I called you? Even that can't explain what I'm trying to say now. Like, it's one thing if I throw plastic in the ocean, the river.
Okay.
It's one thing if a boat dumps oil into the ocean, or we chop down a rainforest, or we put a lot of CO2 pollution and it causes the ice caps to melt and it changes the conveyor belt of the water. Okay. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But how are we describing what I want to talk about is all the things that we're not able to measure yet, because all the things you talked about before. My health will get better if we have good relationships.
Right.
Our creativity will get better if we have good relationships. My wounds will heal. We can measure all of that.
Yes.
But in the same way that there's a conveyor belt of water going around the world, there's a conveyor belt of thoughts. There's an instant network. That water drop could take hundreds of years to get around the world through that conveyor belt of water, but thoughts travel instantaneously. And we can't put a person in a Faraday cage and start measuring their thoughts. And right, but stronger than the magnetic current of the earth, stronger than the whatever that's guiding those damn ants in my kitchen, or the bird knows how to go south. There is another specific human power that's not being measured.
Right. So okay. So going back to those fish and birds that we started with, and ants, right? The antism. So in some magical way that we can't yet understand and measure with our tools of science, those species are able to share. I'm going to anthropomorphize it a little bit, talk about it in human terms. They are able to share a collective thought. They are able to, millions of fish can swirl together and swarm together in a way that is indescribable, and that you cannot plan that harmonious movement. If you look at murmuration, for instance, of those starlings in the air, or you look at fish or birds, there is they're sharing. They have to be sharing. The only way to solve this is that they're sharing one kind of collective field, collective thought that operates them. So just like when, or think about the 50 or 100 trillion cells in your body, how do they do all of this super complicated communication instantaneously. There has to be a thought that ties, that binds all of them together. Now, if all of nature is networks that are connected by these fields of thought, so to speak, fields of, call it information, call it data, call it forces, doesn't matter. You can uh, um, discern different aspects of those fields. But if all of nature is networks from the micro to the macro, then humanity has to be a network as well. And what we're missing is the sensitivity to that collective field of thoughts and emotions
Here's
that
here's
we
the
are
awesome
in. Yeah.
here's the amazing thing. This is the magic right here. Once we feel, if we had the total sensitivity, if I tried to throw the garbage in the ocean and I just couldn't, because nature wouldn't permit it, because I was so
Right.
sensitive to it, I would feel that I was hurting myself. I would feel the whole flow of the whole natural cycle. And if I throw it in, it comes back and then it hurts me. And then, right. We wouldn't be able to do, if we're super, super sensitive to it, we would just be animals again.
We
So
would be
here's the amazing
robots even, you
rope.
can think about it like that. We would be, if you were to, work exactly in tune with all of nature, then you'd be, and you'd be programmed to do it. That's what I mean by kind of robot. You'd be just
Yeah.
programmed to act correctly. So
So here's
yeah,
the
go ahead.
the great transition of it is, while we are not sensitive to it yet, we're the only creature. Plants can't do it, animals can't do it, certainly rocks can't do it. We can start, we can oh, we can start to behave as if it's real. We
We
can start to behave.
behave as if it's there in order to develop the sensitivity to actually feel where we are,
But the thing that we're
this
going to
feel.
be sensitive to, though,
Yeah,
is not an animal thing. It's not some magnet that you're going to feel in a Faraday cage. The thing we would become sensitive to is specifically something human, which there is no EEG to measure. There is no water meter to measure. It's not magnetism. It's something that is above all of those levels, above the animal. It's something that is yet to be discovered. And that is what we're at the precipice
well,
of opening up here.
it will be um a conscious. I think about, I think about it as a conscious sense of the nothing less than the eternity and wholeness of all of nature. This harmony that exists in nature, it's a program. It's a program that just works. And all of those other levels of life that you mentioned, rocks, plants, animals, they're all part of that harmony, but they're programmed to be. And we, in some weird magical way, we are uh, um, outside of that program somehow. But we're only outside of it in our consciousness. Why am I saying that? Because again, when you start measuring and researching, you see that that our brain collects data, and from the magnetic field of the earth, you start seeing that human beings share all kinds of pheromones they're not aware of. You start seeing that there's all kinds of invisible threads that we are not aware of, that we are not conscious of, but we're already bound by them. We are bound together by the laws of nature, the forces of nature that are undetected to our five physical senses, but we are still held together by them. And the only thing that, what we can call the great transition, the only thing that we need to do is become conscious, become sensitive, become aware of who we really are, and in this, and what's our function in this whole system. There's anyway, there's like a beauty here that,
So beautiful.
yeah, there's a beauty here that specifically our malice. Can you say that? Malice, does that work here? Specifically our weak spot, maybe, or the reason, the reason that we are outside of the fact that we are outside of nature's program is also the great potential that we have as human beings to consciously re-enter that natural program. That's the beauty. Anyway, our time is up here, man. I don't know. You wanna? We are we singing something? Are we playing some music? What's going on? What's the deal?
I got a perfect song for this one.
All right, he's pulling it out, you guys. The guitar is out. All right.
I'm totally sleep deprived after this Unity event this weekend. I know you are too. So
Yes.
um,
Yes, and our
it's
viewers, some of them definitely are as well. All right. So let's do it. Let's do some music. Let's make some sleepy music.
okay. Just let me know how the levels are. You can hear the guitar and the voice.
Good.
Started in a garden with rubble. There was a snake. There was some trouble. I started as a monkey, but look at me now. There was no God to cling to, so I made a temple and I made a statue, and I spend my time smoking and drinking my wine. Shot out of my dad, swam into my mom, one amongst billions. Now what were the odds? And it only took me 1,000 lifetimes. If you wanna be rich, look for rich. If you wanna be smart, look for smart. I wanna know the reason why I feel like shit. It's a question from this point in my heart.
Yeah, I would add that if you're a human being, you feel that point. If you're a human being, there is a desire in you to find that connection to the whole of nature, to this grand scheme of things, to what's really happening. And we're all moving there. And when we're going there, we're going to see that all of the stuff that we're seeing right now, what we're doing to nature, pollution, depletion, all that bad stuff we do to each other, abusing and using every night and day, left and right, all of that is just an evolutionary phase. We got to grow. We're going to grow to become sensitive beings, sensitive to each other. And
Regal heart and vagabond shoes, I followed you here. Your scent is my muse, and I want you. All that will be's already been written. Flow like an atom, you're in a system. We're connected from in front and behind. So thanks for the good and thanks for the bad, for the call in the morning that straightens my head. And now nature's made me a spiritual man. If you wanna be rich, look for rich. If you wanna be smart, look for smart. I wanna know the reason why I feel like shit. It's a question from this point in my heart. Started in a garden, woo! Started as a monkey, but look at me now, woo! Started in a garden with rubble. There was a snake, There was some trouble, started as a monkey, but look at us now. Woo! Look at us now.
See you everybody on Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. That's what we're doing in the Great Transition. We are connecting to each other and to nature. See you on Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Bye, guys.